Hi, everybody, and welcome to Sidewalk Talk. I'm Steve Fortunato, founder of Shovel the Sidewalk. We're a marketing firm in Buffalo, New York. We work with small businesses. We help them build their brands. We create their advertising, and we do it all through authentic storytelling. And that's how we started this podcast. The audio and video are a little bit different than usual. If you're watching on YouTube, obviously, thanks to technology, we're able to do things. We can have this podcast right over the internet. And we are audio wise, it might not be the best but it is what it is. We are living in different times, but we're going to continue to tell stories and figure out ways to help people, in particular people that are living here in Western New York. And this is our first podcast that we're doing not in person. We are practicing social distancing, trying to do the right thing. And we're also breaking a rule in that we are having a guest that does not have an affiliation with Western New York. Well, I guess he kind of does. His name is Bob Maibach. He is the chief of the Goose Creek Rural Fire Department. His connection is that he's been a friend of mine for more than 30 years. We went to college together. But he is in Goose Creek, South Carolina. And I thought it would be great to talk to him, get his input on the current situation, and offer any kind of advice to us as Western New Yorkers and people around the country and around the world, and how they can best get through the situation and move forward in life. So, Chief, thanks for joining us.
I appreciate you having me on, and hope everybody's doing well up there.
Well, hey, so we're you know what? I have discussions with people. I've done a lot of talking in the last week, and what we've realized is that you have to be rational here, right? Nobody wins by panicking. And so I know this. I can't predict what's going on here in the short term, long, or how long this situation is going to be. But I am 100% confident, 100% confident that eventually we'll get back to normal. I don't know what that normal is going to be. We might have a new normal, right? But it is definitely going to come back. I just have confidence in science, in the brain power that we have in the United States, and the people. And there's no doubt in my mind that things will get back to normal. But we can help get it there by doing the social distancing and et cetera, and practicing good hygiene. That's not what we're here to talk about. What is it? So down out in South Carolina, what we have as of today's recording. Today is March 18th, 2020. We're in Buffalo in Erie County, New York. We have 20 known cases. How about you guys down in your county, down in Goose Creek, South Carolina?
Well, we're in Berkeley County.
Okay.
And thus far, we have had 47 positive cases statewide, with one fatality in 13 of the 55 counties, and we've only had one documented case here in Berkeley County. So right now we are well. Like you said, the best tool at this time is education. Understanding what is going on around you, understanding how to process the information, and make sure the information you're getting is good. We have a lot of folks, both locally and statewide, that are providing us a lot of information, but they're able to boil it down into the parts that are applicable. They're breaking down the science, and they're explaining. We're trying to diffuse the situation as best we can. But as with anything in today's world, that information changes rapidly. So we just have to be prepared as emergency responders, especially. We have to be prepared as that information changes to shift our focus, shift our efforts, and provide the best possible service we can.
So, Chief, that's why I want to talk to you, because you're the voice of reason, right? You're a good person. Anyone that, you're chief of, you guys, there, without volunteers, your fire department doesn't exist. And the volunteers are, obviously there's people fighting fires. but there's also volunteers that are helping with the IT. Volunteers for any fire department and emergency personnel. They're what you guys do in normal times is just we can't thank you enough, and we appreciate all of our police, our fire, these people, the healthcare providers, and the people in the emergency rooms. But you guys have something in you that you want to help people. It's something special, okay? In a time like this, how are you getting through it? Well, I mean, it can be a little. You're also human beings, but fires aren't going to stop because there's a virus, there's a pandemic. Isn't going to be a need for emergency services just because there's a pandemic. There are still going to be emergencies outside of the pandemic. What is it that we can do to help you?
Again, the education aspect is important to understand yourself, your personal condition. If you don't feel well, there are opportunities. You have the ability to reach out by phone, by computer, to your physician's office and get some information from them. At this time, the most important thing is to not overtax the 911 system.
Okay. So is that are people, oh, I have a cough, I got to call 911. Is that what's happening? Or are you saying that could happen and you're trying to stop that from happening?
We are seeing some of that. Most of the dispatch centers in our region have gone into specific protocols to gather additional information above and beyond what they normally obtain, specifically to the illness, as far as asking for symptomology. What are you? Why are you calling? What is driving you to call? And eventually, I see us evolving to where if a person does call 911, they may be directed to go back to their personal physician to seek further care, because they, based off of the information they're providing, they may not meet the criteria for an emergency response, to get an ambulance, to get a fire truck to their home. So we're just asking again, use your common sense, use your knowledge and your education to your advantage, and ask the right people the right questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. A lot of times people, they may not feel well, but they don't want to be placed in a category, become another statistic, so they'll withhold information. My crew encountered an incident just the other day. The initial response came out as one thing, but when they arrived on scene and started asking specific questions, the patient then divulged that they had been experiencing flu-like symptoms for a couple of days. If that information probably needed to be given to the dispatcher, who could then provide the responders with the right information so that we could approach the situation properly. Fortunately, the symptomology was not as presented. They were transported to the hospital, no further incident, no further follow-up needed, and everybody's okay. But again, as you said earlier, these are different times, and in our country, we've gone through a lot in the last 2 decades or more, and we need to be smart about the actions we take and how we approach things. And I think we will come out okay on the other side, because we do have a lot of smart people working on things for us.
So, and thanks for the positive reinforcement. Again, voice of reason, Chief Bob Maibach. We're talking with Chief. He is with the Goose Creek Rural Fire Department in Goose Creek, South Carolina. And this is Sidewalk Talk. My takeaway so far, Chief, then is two things. Number one, if you have a cough, or if you feel, if you're thinking you may have the flu or you may have COVID-19, don't call 911. Go ahead and call your primary care physician, because as we said before, 911, those emergencies are still going to happen with or without COVID-19. So don't call 911. And then also, if you are calling 911, to make sure that you're honest and giving relevant information. In other words, if you think you may have been stricken with COVID-19, to let the person on the other end at 911 know, because then they can make the proper decisions on who to send out there, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And it also allows us to be prepared,
Right.
To protect ourselves, because with this virus, it has a long incubation period, which means even though you might be exposed and you might not have a symptom, you might never exhibit any symptoms, but you can potentially carry this along. And if a responder is exposed and doesn't realize they've been exposed and they continue to work, the potential is there for them to carry it to the next call and the next call and pass it on to their coworkers, which could, if a department, and we have read some situations where departments have seen a higher than usual call out for illness, it could potentially impact department's ability to respond, whether it's EMS, fire, or law enforcement, to respond to emergencies.
What about, I know volunteerism is critical in your business. You're always looking for volunteers. That's not going to stop. That's not going to stop now either, right? So I ask you, what can we do for you? I would assume, if I'll let you answer that, I would assume you're going to tell me if you feel like you could volunteer for your local whatever, fire department, whatever the situation is, to still do it. Is that another message that you want out there?
Certainly. If you have the want and the desire to help, this is especially a time where that is important. Your community could use you in any task, on any level. They can use you, and just know that. I speak for myself in this regard. My staff, we sat down last night and we went through a number of different scenarios, but ultimately it all comes back to keeping our people safe. So we educate them, we communicate with them, we share the information, and we ask them to be educated. I said that at the beginning. The biggest tool we have is education. So we try to educate our own people, and to circle back to the point, if you feel like you can help and you want to help, don't be afraid to join in. This is a time where, as with any type of a natural disaster or a significant event, all hands on deck. So we could use the help. I'm sure those agencies in your community could use the help, whether it's the Red Cross, the fire department, the local rescue squad, whatever it is, and whatever you can do, they need you.
So last question, and we'll wrap it up. If in your situation, okay, someone's like, well, I don't want to go fight fires, or I can't be an EMT. But there's a lot more that goes into offering these services than than those people on the front lines that are actually, out there risking their lives every day. What other things could community members bring, for example, to in what services could they provide to their volunteer fire department?
It starts, I think, general clerical admin type activities, buildings and grounds, keeping the facility up and running. I joked with a reporter not too long ago that if I could find a guy who just wanted to come in once a week and change light bulbs, I'm good with that. I'm not of the computer age. I could use a guy who has skills in information technology, because that drives everything that we do. If you just want to come in, there are agencies that utilize those with teaching skills to help with their training programs. Whether you're teaching the general public first aid and CPR, or you're helping to coordinate classes to train the firefighters on how to do their job. We've seen examples of that in a lot of agencies where you bring in somebody with a teaching background. While it may not look like it is something that could work, teachers bring a totally different skill set. They know how to organize classrooms. They know how to present lesson plans. They know how to create lesson plans. Firefighters, we're a jack of all trades, and sometimes we're a master of none. We sometimes need that kind of help. And if you have something to offer, financial management, my job as a fire chief encompasses a significant amount of stuff that doesn't even get me out of the office. From keeping track of budgets to managing finances, managing contracts, handling insurance claims. I'd like to say that it's glamorous and I get to go out and do a lot of stuff in the field, but there's probably about 60% of this operation that can be done by a lot of people with a lot bigger skill sets than my own.
So if someone listening or watching this says, I want to help, whether they're down in South Carolina or up in Buffalo, New York, what should they do?
Go visit the fire station.
Just go in? Okay.
Just go in. One thing I will tell you about firefighters, and this is probably the hardest thing we are dealing with, I would say right now, is most firefighters are people person. They like people. They want to be, involved in what's going on. And even now with this social distancing, it's a little bit of an issue. We had a family walk up to the station on Saturday, and their child wanted to climb in the fire truck, so we let him. Mm-hmm. And but that's who we are. So if you walk into the fire station, first of all, you're going to be greeted by more than one person. I'm sure of that. And the next question is they're going to ask how you're doing. And I would say I'm doing well, and I'm here to help. And let it go from there. It's, I think in a lot of organizations, and I grew up in a fire department where everybody had a role. Not everybody fought fire. You had some that drove the truck, but you had still many others that did the work that nobody saw. The guys who cleaned up and made the place look presentable. And they would do that on a daily basis because that's their contribution. So I would say go in, and you're going to be welcome regardless, because we are all about the community. Go in and ask, what can I do to help?
There's also the techs, right?
Go from there.
What about the people that have to fix the truck? Someone has to do that.
Exactly. So if you have that skill set, we're always in need of people to do the stuff other than fight fire. We sure do need firefighters, but there's countless other jobs that need to get done, and we could use people to do those.
All right, Chief Bob Maibach, Goose Creek Rural Fire Department down in Goose Creek, South Carolina. A friend of mine for many years, really good man, and works with really good people. Thanks for doing what you do. Thanks for being the voice of reason. Appreciate you, Chief, and we'll be talking more, especially when I need someone to calm us down and to know that things are going to be okay, because they are. So anyway, thanks again, Chief. That's it for this edition of Sidewalk Talk. You can download all of our Sidewalk Talk podcasts on your podcast platform of choice, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, whatever. But you can also watch any of our podcasts by visiting our website, shovelthesidewalk.com. Also, if you or someone you know wants to be a guest on our show because you have a story that needs to be shared, or you have some type of information, especially in the time it is now, and you think it's information that people need, it's going to help people, let me know. And because of this amazing technology, we'll go ahead and communicate that information to anybody out there that wants to consume it. So, but we have a form on our website that you can just you can fill out, and we'll be in touch with you. So, thanks again for listening and for watching. Thanks again to Chief Bob Maibach from the Goose Creek Rural Fire Department. Thanks for participating. I'm Steve Fortunato, and this has been Sidewalk Talk.